Hello, hopefully you have watched the first lesson, short lesson on starting to connect to the breath and how we use the breath in Pilates. So thinking about as we breathe out, we just a pause or the base of the exhale and just finding a little connection or gathering activity in the lower abdomen to kind of hold and a lift into the pelvic floor. If you haven't watched that video, it might be a good idea to go back and just revisit that so you can understand more when we move into the exercises what's going on. So start by laying down on your mat. Make sure that you feel comfortable enough. You can use a pillow or a folded up towel underneath the back of your head if it helps to support your neck a little bit more, and just gently lay the back of your head down. So we don't want the chin to be pitching up too much. We do want to find a nice alignment. So think about the back of the neck lengthening. So you can see I'm not giving myself a double chin, but I am just slightly drawing the chin in. The feet are flat to the floor and the knees are bent. I'm trying to keep the feet quite parallel. This is as often when you work in exercises, you don't really know where you are in space, and that's okay. But just see if you might have a little look and just notice where your heels are. But I'm trying to line my heels up with my pelvis. So think about where my sit bones are, the bony prominences in your pelvis, that my heels will line up with those as I settle down, and just sort of having a little shuffle and a wiggle on the mat to make sure that I feel quite supported. Now, bring a little bit of awareness into the shape of your spine. So depending on whether you're on a firm surface or on a squishy mat, that might feel quite different. If you're on a squishy mat, you might not have so much awareness, but it's good to place your hands on your lower abdomen or on the hip bones, if you like, and just start to take a few pelvic tilts. So you flatten the spine down to the ground, and you will feel, hopefully, that your pubic bone will lift slightly. And then if you let yourself just kind of move away from that, so you arch under your back, and you can see I can get my hand all the way underneath the back of my waist, and then I'm going to do the opposite and flatten the back of my waist down so I wouldn't be able to get my hand underneath at all. So do a few more of those forwards and back, and then thinking about when we were breathing and the connection of muscles. When you flatten the spine, you might notice the muscles in your front of your abdomen start to have a bit more activity. They're working hard to pull in here. So just noticing that your muscles do work, even with a simple exercise like this pelvic tilt. There will be a lengthening of the muscles as you arch into the lower back, and then a shortening of the muscles on the front of your abdomen as you flatten the spine. Now find somewhere in between those two extremes, so you're neither puffing the rib cage up in the air or the belly, nor are you squishing the lower back down to the ground. You almost want to feel like there's a little space underneath the back of your waist, but not so much that you could get your hand underneath, but maybe a couple of fingers underneath. Then just bringing your fingertips onto your hip bone, so your bony prominences on the front of your pelvis. Just think, can you walk your fingers in just an inch or so and then down an inch or so, and then work with your breath as we did in the previous video. So you can take a breath in and you breathe out, and at the end of that exhale, see if you can feel that tightening of the belt a little bit. So you imagine you've got a low slung belt, tightening a couple of notches, lift into your pelvic floor, and where your fingers are, see if you can start to notice the lower abdominals start to tone a bit, so there's a little bit more firmness. And we're not trying to work this at 100%. You want to aim for maybe about 20%. So just start to just be aware of that, and it will take a little bit of practice. So again, you breathe in and you breathe out, and you find a slight gathering across the lower abdomen. So I almost feel like it's you're wearing a corset, but it's just tightening all the way around. Just one more breath in and a breath out, and finding that tone in the lower abdomen. And then it becomes a little bit more complicated or a little bit more challenging, because you want to hold the tone through the lower abdomen, but start to actually still breathe normally, or as normally as you can, while holding a little bit of contraction, as I say, like you're wearing a corset around the lower abdomen. So you might find your breathing's a little bit more shallow there. And if you find that you do get, you overthink the breathing, that it gets too complicated, step away from it a little bit. Just allow yourself a little bit of space there and think about the movements. So what we want to think about really is the natural curves of our back, and then we're going to move from there. And if you have natural curves, if you keep your pelvis really glued down to the mat, so not letting it rock and roll side to side, you should find a little bit of engagement through the lower abdomen. And as always, if there are any queries or questions over what you're doing with the exercises, please contact one of the team at SPOT and we can help you and assist you in those. So nice lengthened spine. I'm going to keep my fingertips on my hip bones, and this is almost to imagine I've got a spirit level across my hip bones, and I don't want the bubble in the middle to rock to the left or the right. So I'll take a breath in and a breath out to kind of find my contraction and that holding through the lower abdomen. And I'm going to just lift my right knee over the right hip, so the shin is parallel to the ground. And I'm hoping already as you do that, and you just hold, and do remember to breathe, try not to hold your breath, but as you hold the leg in this position, you might start to feel the activity through your abdomen just to support your leg. Take another breath in, and on your exhale you can just land your foot down. Let's take that to the other side. A breath in. As you breathe out, find connection through the lower abdomen and lift your left leg. Breathe in and lower the left leg. Breathe in to start. On your exhale, lift the right leg. So trying not to tip and roll your pelvis at all. You want the same space underneath the back of your waist. Lower your right leg on an exhale. Breathe in to start. Breathe out to lift the left leg. Breathe in to hold. Breathe out to lower the left leg. Breathe in. Breathe out, lift the right leg. Breathe in. Breathe out, lower, land the foot down to the floor. Breathe in. Find connection and control through the lower abdomen, the lift into the pelvic floor. Your exhale will be to lift the left leg. Inhale to hold. Exhale to lower. Inhale. Exhale, right leg lifts. Inhale. Exhale to land. Breathe in. Breathe out to lift the left leg, parallel to the ground, supporting. Make sure you're holding the spirit level across your pelvis, your imaginary spirit level, and lower the left foot down. Right leg lifts. Right leg lowered. Left leg lifts. So speeding up just a little bit here and lower. So you might step away from the breath and focus more on control. Do make sure that you're just breathing normally, but you still want to have a sense of tone and control through the lower abdomen. So it really is a movement from your hip joint, and the rest of your body almost feels like it's cast in stone, that you're not moving at all. Really lovely and smooth. And you control through the whole movement, so all the way up and all the way down. Now, one thing that I will say as you do these exercises is that you really can modify, so that if your hips don't allow for this range of movement, you might find that you just lift the foot a fraction off the floor, not bringing the shins quite so parallel. But if we have offered you this class as part of your home exercise program, the chances are that you have this range of movement already, or that you're working close towards it. So you're really thinking about, can you hold that lift into the pelvic floor? Can you work smoothly with your breath and smoothly and fluidly with your movement, just lifting one leg and lowering and then the other. It's almost as though you're walking in space, and down, up the leg, up and down. And then when you're finished, you can kind of take a big breath in, expand into the whole rib cage, and maybe you sigh it out and let the whole belly soften. You can even put your hands onto your belly and just find that softness there, because we don't really want the abdomen to be completely toned and firm 100% of the time. That's really not what we expect at all, because we can become hypertonic. We can hold too much tension through the pelvic floor and the lower abdomen. So we want the body to respond to the loads that we put onto it. So you can tell, as you lift one leg, you should feel that a muscle response a little bit more intensely, and as you lower it, that should soften just a fraction. And then the same as you do on the other leg, so one leg and the other. And we have a similar response when we come to standing and come into walking, which is where that exercise is really good to help support you through the torso in a lot of functional activities.